the middle of these two women this morning, not physically, but virtually. Virtually, all right, people. We're socially distant and all of these wonderful stuff. So, good morning, Nadine. Good morning. I don't have my glasses on. Janneil.
Really, Roshane. Good morning, Jamaica. I hope I'm not freezing up, but good morning, Jamaica. Hello, world, on this beautiful day, our Independence Day.
Yeah.
Yay!
So, are you not in your colors like myself? Because I
Oh,
should see
yeah, for
myself.
real. Lord, I need a color, I need a
I, I,
flag.
I race, I run right now. The 400, the 400 for women, 400-meter finals is on at the moment.
For-
So while you're listening to the radio, you can turn down your TV, listen to us, and watch what's happening. All right.
So
And
you have to give us the, what's happening on the track, right?
yes, I definitely will update you guys as we converse this morning.
All right. So hi, Janneil. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
I am great. Have you been enjoying the races?
I am not an early riser, so I've missed most, but I still share the same enthusiasm as
My
most
girl, you don't have no
Jamaicans.
pot cover.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. All right.
Wow.
Well, Janneil is one of our interns, and
Mhm.
they've been really, really busy.
Yeah.
Later on today, we're going to be hearing some work that they prepared for us for Independence Day.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, man, they went on the road, they got the vox pops on and all of
What
these
you say?
things. But right now, inside
And they're off.
Millennial,
And
and
they're
we're
off.
off.
Yes.
Tell me what I want.
And they're coming around the bend. I can see here the Jamaicans. We got a good start. Yeah, both Jamaicans. I'm looking here. I think the lady that's in, I don't know her name, but she's in a big, I think it's about lane number 4 or 5, somewhere there. And she's going around the bend. They have about 200 meters to go. Yes, and they're coming around nicely.
Stephanie
Uh,
and Candice.
yes, man. And so I believe
Run!
somebody here from Bahamas or one of those
No,
countries is in the
Jamaica,
lead.
run!
Jamaica is in about fourth place as we speak, and she's trying her best. She's coming. She's coming. Yes, she's coming. And we're still neck and neck for Alison Felix and the Jamaican, and we came fourth and fifth. Yeah, that's all.
Oh.
We missed it just by a whisker there.
So
Good
Allison got
run,
third.
Alison Felix. Yeah, I
She
believe
got
so.
third. But
Yeah.
I'm surprised. That means that she has slowed down too. So who is first?
A young lady from Bahamas.
Go
She won.
Bahamas, Caribbean
Yeah,
representation.
yeah. So
Janine, you have
Jamaica
to make
came
nice. Come,
fourth,
pat cover, pat, pat,
fourth.
pat.
So we
All
came
right,
fourth and fifth. Yeah.
thank you,
So
Roshane. And
yeah.
yes, Pat Brown says happy
Uh,
birthday, Jamaica, Auntie Nadine and Roshane and guests and everybody. All
yes.
right. So today now we're talking. I love this. Been a student all my life. Now all of a sudden I'm unemployed.
Yeah.
For real. So
The
now when
real,
you're filling out Roshane, now when
the
she
the
filling out the
reality, the
form,
reality.
the reality sets in. Now when she filling out the form, she can't put student, she have to put unemployed.
Unemployed.
Wow, wow.
So we're talking with millennials, and a lot of millennials will be in that position real
Hmm.
soon, whatever form we normally fill out as
Hmm.
we've come to do things for ourselves, 20, some of us are 21 to 25, we've put student, and now we're upon unemployment. How do you, as a millennial, Janelle, and the Gen Z generation, um, how do you feel about the new status? How does it affect you, or does it affect you and your mental health day to day?
I mean, it definitely affects our lives altogether because we're expected to have this figured out all of a sudden when really and truly we need to just take a step back, plan, take it step by step because if it's one of those things where you're not really sure what's going to happen and it builds a lot of anxiety, panic attacks because there's no definitive plan, especially in a world now where COVID is just running rampant. So
Mm-hmm.
making plans seem to just not be the norm usually because COVID then throws everything out the door for you. So interacting with each other, sometimes we're even lost in a conversation because we're often thinking about what's next. And if for example, for persons who have just finished tertiary education and they're the first in the family to do so, there's a lot of expectations riding on that person, and our parents don't really
Yes, Sunny?
understand that it makes us depressed to know that at the end of the day
It's
we're
7
not
minutes
too
and something and
sure what it is that we're
14
going to
seconds.
do, what is happening with us. So it makes us
After
withdrawn,
8.
and we leave certain
Okay, so
conversations
after
alone, or we try to interact with
what's
them
the name of the
as
program?
less as we normally would, because we're scared of having that conversation, like, what do you plan to do with your life? You can't necessarily stay here, and some of them don't even know that. Some of us, we don't necessarily want to stay at home, but considering what the environment is like now, what the job environment is like now, we have no other choice. We'd like to leave the nest too to experience, but giving a lot of things, some of us really can't.
No, I'm talking muted. Sorry. So you're making these plans. You want to live, but is it the best thing though to leave the nest all of a sudden, or is it best to stay and work your way up, have some savings, get your footing settled?
For for some of us, it's a lot different. Some of us have the opportunity to stay at home, save, take our little times to step out, leave the nest. And for some, we're expected to jump at it right away, start the job looking, job hunting, finding a job, find some way of generating income for ourselves, that we're no longer seen as maybe somewhat as a burden. Yes, our parents love us and they do what they do for us out of the kindness and the love that they have for us. But sometimes, it's almost like, normally they would some parents would normally say, when I was 15, I had to go and do this for myself. And it's sometimes
They,
certain
they
things
still
that
say that. They still say
they
something like that.
yes,
Yes,
they
yes.
do. Yes,
When
they
I was
do.
your age.
What they say when you leave high school, not even college, you go and go look at work. I see this.
Exactly. And sometimes I don't think that they're aware that when they say these things, it does have an effect on us that's rather negative, because we feel as though we're a burden to them, even though we know that we aren't, but the feeling is just so hard to not pay attention to.
Well, can I tell you, Janneil, and can I encourage you and other millennials, when you get to our age and your mommy's age, you're going to say the same thing. I'm
You
telling
know,
you, you're going to say the same
I
thing to
believe
your children.
us millennials are really about breaking the cycle. So I don't think that we would, but maybe we can't help it. Sometimes we can't help it.
Well, why I say that is maybe you'll find a different way to say it, but you will recognize that your children you see how you are thinking now? Your children are going to be thinking even more, um, what's the word? You're forward thinking. Your children are going to be 10 times more forward thinking than you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just how it is. I am more, and I use this carefully, mom, dad, I love you. I'm more forward thinking and I'm more accepting of certain things than my parents were when they were growing up. So when they say, when I was your age, so and so and so, now I look at my 10-year-old niece and I'm like, she's not my daughter, but she's my niece. And I'm saying it to her. I used to go through this when I was your age. When I was your age, you did that. And I never planned to do that. And I think I'm cool, quote unquote, and so forth. So it's the cycle of life and it is what happens. But it's great when you can recognize and then make mental adjustments and decide, how am I going to navigate this water? Elaine says, love your program, Miss Janneil. Love your conversation. Keep up the good work. Contact me. as I love how you speak your mind, a true Jamaican. Connect with me. Okay, all right. All right. So let's continue now. Having that talk with your parents. So how would you have that talk with your parents? Letting them know that you are basically still on breast. What? Explanate that one. Shout out and kudos. Yeah.
Okay, so for most of us, it's a conversation that we dread. I think for me, it would be similar to the birds and bees talk. It's one of those talks that you dread, really and truly. But for me, it was a case where my father approached me. He said, "So, what are your plans for your life?" And I said, "Well, Daddy, all I've known is school. All I've known is school, really and truly. So I'm not sure. I'm just taking it a step at a time. So once I finish with my internship, I'll let you know." He said, "What do you mean all you've known is school?" I said, "Daddy, all I've known is school, and now all of a sudden I'm unemployed. Unemployed. Everything I normally fill out, student.
Yes.
Student.
I have to be put in unemployed and I feel so bad." And he's what he's saying now. "So what you telling me? You're basically still on breast milk." And I'm like, "Yes, Daddy, it's the truth, but you just have to take your time with me."
Wow.
So it's one of those questions, it's one of those conversations that you have to have, but how to have it is what is the hardest part. But my uncle normally says the hardest thing to do is to start, because once you start you have to finish. So
Mhm.
taking your time, having the conversation, even to just have a sit down, try to say to them, "This is what I have to say to you, please let me finish, and then you can respond." Sometimes it's just taking the step, because just sitting there, being in their space and not really showing any movements, not really showing any plan, they're going to take it as, okay, you don't really have any plans. You need to have a conversation.
Mhm.
Well, and I clap you for that, Janneil,
Yeah.
and what your uncle said. I mean, Rushing, you can jump in at any time.
Well,
What your
I'm off the fact that I remember there was a time when I was unemployed and I got so frustrated. So what I did, I dressed up, put on my tie and everything, and just went to. I did work experience at a certain institution. I think it was Ministry of Health at the time, and I went there and I tell him that I need a job. I'm tired of stay home, man. Sometimes being at home in a
okay? Don't say it like that. Okay, when you go, Janneil, don't say me tired. Me
No,
tired.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that to them. I said that to myself. But when I went there, I told them that I'm desperate to come out, and this is what I want to look like every day going out. And,
Oh,
yeah,
that's awesome, Rushing. That's
that's
awesome.
why I got my first job. Just
Yes, that's
presenting myself.
awesome.
Sometimes
Yes,
the resumes alone don't really work. Sometimes you have to present yourself and say,
yes.
I need this.
I'm here, and I right, and I love what your uncle said, Janelle, because that was where I was going to go. That what was it you said your uncle said? Say it
The
again.
hardest thing to do is just
It's to,
start anything at all, because once you start, you have to finish.
and a lot of times the conversations that we have in our heads and the walls that we build up in our heads are only there in our heads. So to start it, we have taken it out of our heads and we put it on the platform, and we have to face it. And once you get to that place where you're facing it, hey, anything is possible. I just said to a youngster yesterday that the person was afraid to mention something to their mother, and the person is a young person, and I said to her parents, and I said, "Do you know that your parents love you more than I love you, more than all of your friends put together love you? So as millennials, you have to remember this, that even though it looks like, why mommy want to put up these walls? Why mommy want to box me in? Why daddy? I'm so afraid to go and talk to them. I'm so afraid." No, they have your best interest at heart,
Mhm.
right? In most cases, and do know there are odd cases where things are hard, and it's probably just because the parents are having struggles themselves and they don't know how to navigate those waters. But for the most part, in a relationship where the father and the mother are there for the children, your parents want the best for you. So tell fear, God didn't give me you, so I'm going to talk to my parents and I'm going to work this through.
Don't
And
be
if
afraid
you
of your parents.
don't, yeah, don't be afraid, right? So
Yeah.
let's talk about job availability, mostly in Kingston and Montego Bay. What were you saying about that, Janneil?
The reality is that there are only jobs in Kingston and Montego Bay, and some of us would like to stay close to home. The cost of living in Kingston and Montego Bay is just ridiculous, really and truly.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure if any of us were supposed to get a decent job, most of our pay, most of our salary would go into rent.
And that's
Wow.
why, when you're living, I got a revelation recently that, when you're living with your parents, they pay rents. All right. So
I
um,
like that, Rasheen.
I remember I had a dentist friend who told me that when he just graduated from college, what he did was, his friends started moving out of their parents' home and they started paying rent. And what he did was to remain at his parents' home, save some money, and then eventually he was able to purchase his house. And he didn't buy any flashy car because sometimes as soon as they get a job, we have to be careful of how we spend the money and so on. But that's not the topic. It's the availability. So I want to know, Janneil, where are you located now?
I am in Manchester.
You're in Manchester. You're in a beautiful parish of Manchester, Pulpy,
Yes.
Mandeville, and all of these lovely things.
Yes.
Jobs are there everywhere, but you just have to know people, as they will always say. If you know
Links
somebody
get you
that know, yeah,
through.
things, so but I understand what you're saying as it relates to being in Kingston, and when you look and you say all of the jobs in Kingston, all of the jobs in Montego Bay, but you may never know. You may never know. You may never know. You might find a job in or what some people
Westmoreland.
Westmoreland, and what some people would do, Auntie Nadine, is to maybe find an auntie or an uncle or somebody that they know who is a close relative or somebody that lives in Kingston area,
Yes.
and maybe
And
stay
stay
with them
with
for
them.
a time until they probably find a little decent little rent. Because little independence is good. You have to be,
Yes.
just like you said, making the start is very hard, but while you're in it, God will make all the necessary provisions, and that's what I believe.
That's a great point. Anything else you want to say on that, Janneil?
I mean, most opportunities seem to be in Kingston and Montego Bay, but at the same time, not every opportunity is the right opportunity for you. Not every organization is going to appreciate you and what you bring to the table. So okay, you can move to Kingston, but you can't just jump at the one job that is there right now. You have to sit and be patient and wait until you know or until you find an organization that believes in your values and values you at the same time. So it's not a case where you just go ahead and jump into one job because that's available and all the expectation is on you. So you just feel as though this is what you have to do, really and truly. But when having certain conversations and taking time to plan and sitting down and letting those around you understand what it is that you're going through, how it is that you feel like you should go about this, I'm pretty sure that we would find a way to, find an organization that we feel that is a compliment to us.
Right. Having a right mindset. That's so important. And you mentioned having patience and trusting in the Lord's timing. What do you want to say about that?
Some of us, we are applying everywhere and anywhere. We're not getting calls for interview. We go to the interview, we feel like, yeah, man, mash it up. Still don't get no call back. You feel frustrated,
Yeah.
hopeless. Really and truly, you need to take a step back, take a breather, and trust in the Lord's timing because really and truly, He has a plan for all of us. So, no matter how you feel like you're doing everything right and you still can't get through, rushing into things would
Rushing
probably
into things.
rushing into things.
Rushing. My name is
Rushing
Rashid. You
into
have to be
things.
careful. Rushing into things.
Rushing into things would more than likely change God's plan for you. So when it is that okay, if you sit and you wait, the right jobs comes along, you have to exercise patience because God knows what it is that He wants for you. He knows your worth and what you deserve. You didn't go through how much years at university if you come and I take what you call it now
Calls.
base salary pay. You're supposed to get your money's worth.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
But
And
if you don't get it at the same time on the first job, keep moving.
keep
Keep
moving.
moving. And another thing too is that because us as millennials, we prioritize our mental health and our personal peace. So we're not necessarily going to be job hopping because that makes our resume look awful.
Yeah.
So we prefer to wait until we see something that is suitable that we think that will thrive in such an environment.
I like that. I
And
like that.
and I must share because I have a lot of experiences where jobs are concerned, and the fact that I studied accounting when I was going to school. And persons might be saying, I studied accounting, but why? How does accounting complement with radio? Nadine, I must confess this publicly, is the first time we're getting to. She's my program's supervisor, and I must say that I had struggles with English language when I was going to school. So reading wasn't my thing. I used to my I think my literature books, they're brand new still. If I could go back in the realm of time and find my literature books, they will remain brand new. So reading wasn't my thing, but I remember applying to this institution. As she said, I mash up the interview. They called me in and they showed me the contract, and I went and I did a medical, I did a police record, and I thought that this was it. And I started rejoicing, resigned my job, and all of a sudden I'm unemployed. They didn't employ me. So I was unemployed. But what I did at the time, I remember my bishop said to me, Roshane, come and volunteer at the church. So volunteerism is good, if that's a word. That's a word, right, Nadine?
Yes,
Volunteerism.
sir.
You volunteer. I remember volunteering at the church.
Volunteering is good, yes.
Volunteering at the church. And, my bishop, the first thing he did, he brought me in his office and he said, son, record something, because he wanted me to edit his radio program. And that's where it started. I didn't know. And look where I am today. That was
Wow.
2014. I was home for about 4 months, but in those 4 months, I was volunteering and God shifted
And God
around.
showed you,
Yeah.
yes.
So sometimes you
Maureen,
may never know because of the disappointments. We have to take it, as a way of God closing that door because He has something better for us. Continue.
indeed. Maureen says, using your knowledge and skills to create a job is the way to go. So sometimes you don't see the job out there, but maybe you can look at your hands. What's that you have in your hands? And you can actually create something. Do you see a need out there? And maybe you can fill the need by creating something so that persons will get to buy it. And before you know it, you're a salesperson, you're a creator and, selling a product that people need. So in COVID last year, a lot of persons found they had to think outside of the box. And a lot of persons ended up finding something inside of them that was already there. They found a reason to sing their song. That was the name of my book that I published last year. I've been waiting to write a book from when COVID pushed me to write the book. What is in your hands, Janneil, that you can do to get some funds coming in, or not just to get the funds coming in, but to give encouragement to somebody, fill a need. Once you are filling a need, the funds will come in because it's a need, right?
I definitely have to shout out and give kudos to millennials that have found a way to generate income for themselves. Kudos to them. For me,
So why
I
are you
don't,
emphasizing with them?
because for me,
Say us.
for them, because for me, I think for me, my greatest skill that I could possibly see myself generating some income would probably be cooking. But at the same time, I love to cook, and it gives me immense joy anytime somebody tastes my pot and say, yeah man, this shot, yes girl. But at the same time, I don't like standing on my feet too long. So I guess that's one of the things that I have to get over, to then say, oh, I could probably run a small little tuck shop, or something like that.
Okay.
Or you could just get some really comfortable shoes.
Yeah.
That too. And I like the point that Roshane said about volunteering, because some of us, it's not really good to just sit in the house and be there all day. Go out and volunteer. It's the small things that count, and it's the small things that go a long
We have
way.
30 seconds, ladies. 30 seconds.
Yes, I just saw that. Yes. So we have to wrap. It's the small things. And in the volunteering, that's something that you can put on your resume that
That's
speaks
definitely.
volumes. Thank you,
Definitely.
Janneil, for sharing. Thank you, Rasheen,
Thank you.
for manning the time. I'm Nadine Blair, and this has been our Millennial Hour for 30 minutes. And all the very best.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. It is Love 101 FM, the family station. Do hope you're doing well. If you've just joined us, welcome. It is now 8 o'clock, and you're now invited